Okay, welcome back to my studio. Today I want to talk a little bit about mixing hybrid and how everything is connected and works together. So here is the current setup. This is a 24 channel analog console from the 90s, and I have some outboard gear here, effect units, and also the DAW, which is Logic Pro X at the moment. I have here a mix going on, which is from a Belgian singer-songwriter, Katrin Hammerschmidt. Can play later on a little bit of it. And so let's jump right in and head over to the console and to the tracks. So as you can see, I have labeled every channel, which is kind of a template going on here. So for example, on the first two channels I have the drums, 3 and 4 percussion, 5 bass, then comes the acoustic guitars for middle, left and right. Same for electric guitars. I have a stereo pair for piano, for synth. Then comes the lead vocals for verse, for chorus, and 2 pairs of stereo channels for background vocals. Okay? And the same concept is here in the DAW itself. So I got my drums, which are also on the channel 1 and 2. Then comes percussion, then comes bass, acoustic guitars, middle, left and right. Then I got the electrics, the piano, and the vocals. So the channel 1 and 2 is routed on a console on track 1 and 2. And for example, the channel of the bass, which is 5, is routed to track 5 on the console. And this goes on to the right. And it's pretty much a workflow that I found very easy to work with. So you have the template, you just have to load your tracks or drag and drop your tracks into the session, and you're pretty much ready to go for mixing. And I have also all the plugins going on in the template, so just for a basic starting, and I can tweak them later on, and it's a huge time saver. So maybe we do that in part 2, where I show you how to make a template and how everything is routed exactly. Okay, and here is the rack for the outboard gear, which are mainly compressors and some mic preamps and the converters. And for example, I have on the subgroup 1, which is my drum bus here labeled, I have the DBX 266S, which is that, and I used it for pedaling compressing or for a drum bus compressor itself. Works pretty nice. And then I have on the group 3 the Vox Parallel, which is a Alesis 3630, as you can see here. Pretty heavy slamming here on the vocals for parallel processing. The power plant is on subgroup 4. It's in the overdrive mode for getting some grit and making the vocals a little bit more thicker. And those are mic preamps. And here is the my current main mix or main bus compressor, which is the Alesis 3632, so the newer unit to the old one, which is from the, I don't know, 80s, 90s. And my analog digital converters, 3 of them in daisy chain mode from PreSonus, the Fire Studio project. And currently I use, I believe it should be 88.2 kilohertz sample rate. And here is a old guy Nakamichi tape deck I sometimes use it for running drums or percussions or bass through it and record it back into the DAW. Sounds pretty good, I would say. And I also did some mixdowns also on the tape. So if you want a kind of lo-fi, or I wouldn't say lo-fi, because the Nakamishis tend to be really clean. And yeah, so that's basically it. Oh, here are the effects units. I have two at the moment. The MIDI-Verb 4 and the Lexicon MX200. They are connected to the aux channel, so on the first one here, and the Lexicon on the second one. And yeah, that's basically it. Also got the Logic Remote going on here for writing levels itself in the DAW, so you don't have to use the mouse that often. And yeah, so let's head over on the back side of the whole desk and the mixing console, and I show you the connections itself. Okay, so here we are on the back side, and here are the inputs or tape returns from the outputs of the analog digital converters. So we got here on the right side channel 1 to 8, then here is 9 to 16 and 17 to 24. Here are the main balanced outputs from the main mix, and over here we got all the connections for subgroups, for aux channels and so forth, headphones, jacks, etc. And then all these cables are going, here you can see them, going to the back side here into the rack. So on the top one is our drum bus channel, the DBX. Then we got the Alesis 3630 and the power plant and so forth. And as you can see, here is the back side of the analog digital converters with the connections, and those cables run directly into the tape returns of the console that I showed you before. And so just for the sake of it, I'm going to show you now a diagram with all the signal flows, the routings and the connections. Okay, so here is the single flow chart, the diagram I made. So let's start on the left side here with the microphones. Here is the analog console, and there are two ways to connect microphones to an analog console. You could use the mic inputs of the console, or you connect your mics to an external preamp and go from there, from the line out, into the line inputs of your console. So there are two ways that you could use to connect your microphones to the console. And then we have here, and that really depends on the type of console you have. If you have an inline console, you have usually tape returns where you can connect the outputs of your AD-DA converters. And if you don't have tape returns, you have to use the line inputs. Okay, and every channel on my console has a direct output. So what I do here is I can record on one channel and go directly out of that channel into my AD converter. So I don't have to use the main mix when I'm recording acoustic guitar or electric or a vocal through a mic. So it is pretty handy. And the aux channels. I have 6 of them. There are the effects units like plates, echoes, halls, reverbs, and so forth. Always connect them to the aux channels. And on the inserts, there are 2 types of inserts. Inserts on the channel itself and on the subgroups. And at the moment I just use the subgroups inserts because I don't have enough compressors and EQs for all the channels. So I would have to unplug and plug the compressors all the time if I wanted on a specific channel. So I have plugged them into the subgroups, and I can use them as a drum bus compressor or like the power plant for my overdrive unit to fatten up the vocal tracks, and etc. So those are the inserts. You would have to use a insert cable which has on the one end one connector, and it splits up into 2 for in and out on the compressor itself. Okay, and when I route channels to the subgroups, they are then routed to the main mix output, and this main mix output goes into the input on a stereo input of the ADD-A converter. And the converters are connected, as you can imagine, to the computer, and from there it goes all together into the DAW and also out of the DAW. So that's the cycle and the signal flow of a hybrid mixing setup. Okay, so that's basically it for the first part of the hybrid mixing video. In the second one I'm gonna show you the mixing template itself and the plugins and how that works. And yeah, that's basically it. The mix is an original song from Katrin Hammerschmidt, Belgium singer-songwriter. As I said in the beginning, check her out, katrinhammerschmidt.com. Has her new album out now. And yeah, that's basically it. So stay tuned for part 2.